Well, good morning, church. Some of you are there. Good morning, church. Yeah, that's much better. Thank you. I like to know you're there, especially with all the lights going out in the auditorium. And I want you to know the light situation is growing. In first service, 18 lights were out. In this service, it's 19. So we need to get this fixed. We're thankful that you are here. If you're a guest of ours this morning, welcome. As Scott mentioned just a few moments ago, my name is Travis Akins. I serve here as one of the ministers at Memorial Road, and I want to invite you to come back next week next door to Oklahoma Christian. But any other time, Phil Brookman, our preaching minister, is usually in the pulpit here, and we want to make sure you come back when he is a part of our worship service next time you are with us. We are so thankful for your presence this morning. Happy Mother's Day to everyone. Happy Mother's Day, moms. I hope the morning already has been a blessing to you, a good morning to you. I owe my wife a whole lot for this morning. I preached on Mother's Day, and so I was not around this morning, and I have some making up to do. So I hope today has been a good one for you as mothers. Mother's Day is one of those. Now, I typically am a person who leans on the cynic side. I'm a little cynical, and so when I think of or hear about holidays like this, I typically think this is a corporate holiday, right? This is Hallmark, this is the flower, the people are making these things up. But this is one of those holidays, though, that I don't lean that way. I actually think this is a good one. I think there's a lot of blessing in a day like today that brings us all into remembrance, that kind of brings us all to think about and to honor in our own ways mothers in our lives. When I think of mothers, I obviously go to my mother. Go ahead and go to that picture. This is my mother when I was a little one, and I'm not going to show this very long. My mother's not here this morning, and if she ever finds out that I showed this picture in church, I may be a grown adult with my own kids. I will be grounded immediately, okay? So please don't tell her. There goes my daughter going to tell her grandmother. Great. This has backfired completely on me. When I think of my mother, I think and remember just how much she loves me and how much she cares for me and just how much of her life she has given to me. Okay, we can go ahead and take that picture away because I don't want to get in too much trouble. I think of my mom. Honestly, I go back to some of the things I have done, I've messed up in as a child. Because in all of those moments, especially where I got in trouble, I messed up, I did something wrong, I may have had punishment from my mother, but I never once doubted how much she loved me. I remember as a child, some very vague memories here. I was very little, and I remember I was up before everyone in the house, and I thought it was a great idea to go out back and take all the leaves in the backyard and put them in the living room. And so my mother wakes up to her son jumping off furniture into a pile of leaves in the living room, and I had vague memories of being in trouble, but I never once doubted that she loved me. I remember as a child very well being in my bedroom, and I had a broomstick. You never give a little boy a broomstick. And I had a broomstick in my room, and I was fighting crime or defeating monsters or whatever was going on in my head that day, and my window was a casualty of me fighting. The loud crash, and I freeze with fear trying to figure out what to do with this broken window, and my mother comes running in, catches me with a broomstick through the window, just frozen in fear, and I remember being in trouble, but I never doubted that she loved me. Now, I don't remember this one a whole lot, but I hear this story all of the time from my mother, and I'm convinced over the years that my sister did this, and I was just on the lookout. But we got caught one evening flushing my mother's jewelry down the toilet, including her wedding ring. I'm sure I got in a lot of trouble for that. In fact, she just brings it up all the time to remind me how much I think we got some of the jewelry back, but not the wedding ring. And I never doubted, though, even when I messed up that big, that she loved me. I remember as a teenager, one particular day in high school, getting a note from the office that said, go visit this teacher before school's out. And so at the end of the day, I get excused. I go to that teacher's room, and I walk in the door, and the teacher and my mother are sitting in the room talking, and I freeze with fear, and my mother just looks at me and says, go sit in the hallway. I had messed up. And I remember that one, and I remember being in lots of trouble, and I remember the talks, and I remember the groundings, but I never once doubted that my mother cared and loved me. Moms are special. And I want us to spend some time this morning in 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, because I want us to think about the impact of motherhood on each and every one of us. And one of the cool things about what I get to do here at Memorial Road, I work with our 20s and 30s. I'm a young adult minister, but I get to fill in quite a bit for Phil, and I get to do cool things. And one of the fun things I get to do is in a lesson like this, sitting down and talking to others. And in this case, I sat down with some Memorial Road kids and some teenagers, and we talked about mom. And I want to show the video from some of these sit-downs, but I want you to listen. But more than that, I want you to pay attention to the faces and the joy of these kids when they talk about their mom. I just want you to pay attention to how excited they are and the joy that they have when we just sat down and we talked about mom for just a few minutes. Jacob?
Can you tell me what Mother's Day is?
It's a day where you celebrate your mother.
You're supposed to celebrate your mom, and you can bring them breakfast in bed.
Celebrate the moms of their hard-working
things. I finished it for you.
It's when you do everything for your mom.
Do you have anything special you're going to do for Mom on Mother's Day?
Get her flowers or take her to a movie.
Well, because they take care of you. They're nice. Sometimes they pay money for your food.
What's like a favorite memory of your mom? What's something that stands out when you think of your mom, something she's done or you've done with your mom that is your favorite?
going on rides with her.
Okay, so like where?
Like Frontier City.
Oh,
And
okay.
Disney World, because we go there every 3 years.
Okay.
No, 2 years.
3,
2,
3,
2.
3.
I really enjoy when she comes to my basketball games and she's there to support me. It really means a lot to me.
2,
3,
2,
3.
2.
My friends consider her their mom too, so I don't know, she's pretty mom-like.
3.
2.
One time we were driving to Florida and it was a pretty long drive, and so we got kind of bored, and so my mom just out of the blue started talking in a country accent.
What did the country accent sound like?
I can't do it right now.
Yes, you can, just try.
We were just like, damn near that's some good chicken.
What else do you do for your mom on Mother's Day?
You can, like, take her camping.
Take her camping? Does your mom like to go camping?
Yeah.
She does? Y'all go camping a lot?
No.
What's your favorite thing to do with her?
Swim.
Swim? Does your mom do cannonballs or dives?
No.
Oh, why? Why?
Because she's too old.
Is there something you hear mom say all of the time?
It's we'll see.
I ask her, Mom, can we go to the park on Saturday? We'll see. It aggravates me sometimes.
Why does that aggravate you?
Because you will see usually means no.
Is there like one thing mom says over and over again? She tells you something?
I love you.
She does.
She says it over and over and over again.
Keep the house clean.
Does she say that a lot?
Yeah.
Is it just to you? Or
No,
is it to
it's-
everyone?
it's to the whole family.
Okay.
She continues to say it after 18 years. It's, how do you eat an elephant?
So mom says, how do you eat an elephant? And then she answers her own question.
Yes, because I won't answer it. I've refused to answer it, and I've never answered it for her. But it's one bite at a time.
So mom's trying to tell you what by this?
To take it one step at a time so you don't get overwhelmed.
She's always like crazy during a trip. Have you noticed that? She's like, that's the most time she'll make a joke. Like, when we're on a trip, there's like 3,000 jokes.
What's one thing mom's taught you to do?
Do the dishes correctly.
I think probably just trust God in everything you do and love everyone unconditionally. Like, she doesn't have a certain saying, but like she's just taught us that through like her actions, and just whenever anything happens, she just lets us know that God will be there for us, and just if we love everyone, then everything will work out.
Yeah. What's something you've learned from your mom, Ellie?
Stand up for yourself.
Oh, really?
Like, as in not being scared to do things.
Sometimes when I do something I'm not supposed to, she says, is that, well, I think in her head she's saying, is that what God wants you to do?
I like her because she cooks dinner, lunch, and breakfast.
Not in that order, though.
What?
I don't know. Whenever I have kids, I feel like I'll be calling her all the time, like, how do I do this? But she just is like a really good mom, and so I want to be like her when I grow up.
Since my brother died, she just tries to live one day at a time. And so every time she'll have a hard day, she's just like, you know, I made it yesterday, I'm making it today, and I'll make it tomorrow. But I'm going to do it one day at a time.
Could I say something personal?
You absolutely can.
I love you, Mom.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Happy Mother's Day, Mommy. I love you.
I love you, Mom. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom. Okay, sorry.
Happy Mother's.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. That's so bad.
Most moms didn't know that was happening. Thank you, moms, for sharing your children and allowing me to get to know you and your children a little bit better. But you got some very insightful looks into the impact, to the love and the care that moms have in life. And many of you are probably asking, well, are we going to get out on time? We'll see. Okay? We'll see. 1 Thessalonians chapter 2. Let's look at what Paul says here in 1 Thessalonians chapter 2. I want to pick up at the end of verse 7, read a little bit of verse 8, and then kind of start bringing this particular verse in the context here this morning. Paul says this to the church: just as a nursing mother cares for her children, so we cared for you. Our Sunday evening series right now is Return of the King. It's a study in the book of 1 Thessalonians. About 3 weeks ago, I preached one of those lessons on Sunday evening, and it was a lesson out of the latter half of 1 Thessalonians chapter 2. And it was there that I began to get even more familiar and aware of Paul's metaphor language of describing himself as a mother to the church in Thessalonica. And it's quite interesting if you think about it, because Paul uses this metaphor and he's saying, don't forget how I treated you. Don't forget how I acted with you. Don't forget what I did for you. Paul, in a very large sense in 1 Thessalonians, is defending his apostleship. He's defending the rumors and everything else that's going on, and trying to pull down everything that he had done, had worked with these new converts, these new Christians in this church. And Paul wants them to remember that when he was there with them, he wasn't just there teaching and preaching, he was something more. What's the metaphor he goes to? Motherhood. I was a mother to you, and not just that, I was a mother who gave of myself to you. I was a nursing mother. Don't you remember how I cared for you, Paul says. What Paul is saying here is people would look at my relationship with you and they could not but see a mother. People should have been mistaken that I was a mother to you, that I cared for you so deeply, so passionately, so intimately, that people looked at me and saw me as a mother. It's an interesting metaphor because what he's doing is he's helping us see something. He's helping us see that mothers are genuine images of God. Mothers are genuine images of God. Paul goes to this metaphor because it's one of the metaphors that best describes his relationship, his love, his care for the people in this church. But it's also quite interesting because Paul's a man. He's a male, and he's describing himself as a mother. But don't forget, this is the Paul in Philippians that tells us to be imitators of Jesus Christ. This is also the same Paul who tells us in many of his letters, most prominently in 1 Corinthians chapter 4, to be imitators of him, because Paul is an imitator of him. So we imitate, Paul says, look at me, do what I do, because I'm looking at Jesus and doing what Jesus has done for others and for me. So Paul is using imitation language here in 1 Thessalonians chapter 2. He's saying, I want you to know that I am doing this. I am being a mother to you. I have been a mother to you. I have been so intimate and personal and caring and loving to you because that's what I have seen in Jesus Christ. I have seen Jesus live out these qualities in my life and in others' lives and in your very own life. That Paul just isn't grabbing a mother metaphor to make a point. Paul is grabbing a mother metaphor because it fits the description of who Jesus Christ is. And when he thinks of mothers, when he thinks of a mother who gives of her body, of her time, and her life to her children, he thinks of what Jesus Christ has done for each and every one of us. Paul is saying, I was a mother to you who cared for you so deeply because I saw that lived out in Jesus Christ. And this is the example of what genuine love and care looks like. That we don't have to look any further for a living, breathing example in our world of what God looks like and functions than motherhood. Because mothers give, and they love nonstop, and they care deeply for their children. So I think a really big point that we have to make in a lesson like this is that Paul is a man who's saying, I function in a way like a mother, and what he's reminding us is that mothers come in all shapes and sizes. Mothers come in all walks of life. Mothers come in all seasons of life. They look differently. And that it's not a biological relationship that defines motherhood. It is a person who gives of their life in a genuine, caring, loving way that defines motherhood. And so we don't just celebrate biological relationships on a day like today. We remember every single person who is a genuine image of God in our lives. We ought to be honoring and remembering those people who have lived out care and love in our lives. Because that's what Paul does. Paul's not a natural mother to these people. He can't be. He is saying, I have seen this lived out in Jesus Christ. I wanted to live this out before you, and I hope you saw that. I was one who gave of myself. And I tried to be an image of God himself. Just as a nursing mother cares for her children, I cared for you. Who fits that description in your life? Who is someone who has cared for you so passionately, so intimately, so lovingly that they were a genuine image of God in your life? Paul continues to give us another deeper look Verse 8 continues. Paul says, because we loved you so much, we were delighted to share with you not only the gospel, but our lives as well. Paul gives us further insight of what a genuine image of God looks like, what motherhood really functions like. It is the person who just gives their life, all of who they are, to their children. And in the process of giving their life, they come out of this imagery of Jesus Christ because they've given their life and they've shared the gospel of Jesus Christ. Sacrifice and love and care are a part of a mother's life DNA. And genuine images of God give their lives so much. They delight in giving of themselves to their children. Now, I know that there are many in this room right now who find today to be a difficult day. I know that you have suffered loss of a mother, a child, a spouse. I know that there are many in here who have strained relationships with a mother or with their children. I know that there are people in this auditorium this morning who desire to have a child of their own and they haven't yet, and they bring so much emotion into a day like today. And today can be a difficult, hard reminder. Paul here in 1 Thessalonians chapter 2 does something a few verses later. He brings back up this motherhood metaphor in verse 17. And he says, don't forget. This is the Travis International version of chapter 2, verse 17. Don't forget, I am a mother who is orphaned from my children. Paul goes to the extreme to remind us that his situation where he writes this letter is not where he wants to be. That he says several times in chapter 2 that I have been trying to get to you, but I can't get to you. I want to be with you because I'm a mother who wants to be with her children, but it's not what is happening, and I'm grieving about that. I'm hurting about that. This is not where I want to be, but this is where we are at. I am orphaned from you is the language that Paul uses in verse 17. Paul is understanding as a mother figure to this church what it's like to be in grief. He uses this metaphor as a person who understands what it's like to be separated, to be hurting. We have to recognize that. We have to understand where we're at. For those of you who have suffered loss, who are grieving the loss of a mother, a child, a wife, remember. That's what Paul does. He remembers. He's remembering to the times when they were together. Don't you remember? I was like a mother with you. I cared for you. I was with you. I shared the gospel with you. I gave you my life and everything I did because I loved you so much. And maybe the message needs to be for some of us this morning who suffer in loss is to remember. Embrace those images that your mother or mother figures have left into your life. Tell the stories of your mom today. Honor her and honor them by remembering how they have impacted you as an image of the gospel story of Jesus Christ to you. And for those of you who are here this morning who have a strained relationship, who have a relationship with a mother or a child that is contentious, that is hard. Maybe you haven't spoken in a really long time. Maybe when you do speak, it always seems to end in anger and argument. And today is a day that just brings heartache because the last thing you want to do, you feel like doing, is honoring those mothers. To you, I want to tell you, I want to say to you, to find and to remember and to honor and to delight in the adopted mothers in your life. To those who have been genuine images of God in your life, to those who have given of themselves to you in any season and in all seasons and every walk of your life. Honor them today. Remember them today. Know that they have given themselves in their own special way at that moment in your life to share the story, the love of Jesus Christ. And for those of you who are in here this morning who want a child but haven't been able to have one, I want to encourage you to become an adopted type mother. There are those who are desperate for mother connections in their lives. And this may not be the opportunity, this may not be the place like Paul finds himself in 1 Thessalonians. This may not be where you want to be, but it may be the opportunity that God is opening up that you can use to share a genuine image of God in other people's lives. There are over 11,000 children in the Oklahoma foster care system. 2,500 of them are in this county alone. There are only 900 foster homes open in this county. There are abundant opportunities for each and every one of us to take on the role of a genuine image of God, to give and to care as only Christ could, to imitate Him to others in this special way. Those opportunities are there. And if that seems daunting, if that seems overwhelming, I want to help you do that. Find a way to be meaningful in that. Paul continues, verse 9, our last verse this morning. Paul says, "Surely you remember, brothers and sisters, our toil, our hardship. We work night and day in order not to be a burden to anyone while we preached the gospel of God to you." I want to say to everyone who has a mother, anyone who has a mother figure in their life, and I'm guessing we could go around and it'd be every single one of us. If you really think about it, if you think about where you've come from and who you are, people have shared the love of Jesus Christ into your life in special ways, at different points in your life. If you have a mother figure, a mother in your life, you need to find a way to honor them, to care for them today. Yesterday, my 6-year-old, Lucy, went outside. I said, "Lucy, what are you doing?" She goes, "I'm going to go pull those weeds in that flower bed." I said, "Do you really want to go pull weeds in a flower bed?" And she goes, "Dad, I just want this to be the best Mother's Day ever." For her, she was doing what she knew how and what she could to honor and to love her mother, who has been a genuine image of God's love in her life. The challenge today is for each and every one of us to be more mother-like. For each and every one of us to be genuine images of God, people who are like nursing mothers, people who are giving their lives, their body, their time, their efforts, who care for people so deeply, so intimately, so passionately, people who are giving of themselves so that the image, the love, the care, the transformational power of Jesus Christ can be known in other people's lives. That's the challenge and the encouragement for each and every one of us. Honor and love and be that to other people. I can remember the night. I was in the later part of college years. I was home on a winter break. I was asleep in my bedroom when I heard screaming in my house. And it woke me up, and I got up, and I stumbled out into the room, and I found my sister in the kitchen over my unconscious mother. And I remember trying to get her to wake up. I remember picking her up. I remember putting her in the car. I remember taking her to the hospital. I remember being in the hospital with her. I remember visiting her when she was in recovery. I remember crying for my mother. There's nothing I could do or help with. I remember hearing stories from her and the struggles that she still continues to have. And I was thinking about that as I was reading 1 Thessalonians chapter 2 this week and thinking about this metaphor and this imagery that Paul uses. And I never once hesitated to take care of my mother. I didn't hesitate. I didn't think. I just did. I cared for her. I tried to do whatever I could in those particular moments to save her, to help her. You know why I did that, I think? Because she cared for me first. She loved on me first. She demonstrated a life that was a genuine image of God, and she sacrificed so much for me that I learned it from her. And I couldn't but help. It just was natural for me to live into that kind of way. And when we pay attention to Christ, when we look at God, you and I are being called to be genuine images of God. You are being called to be a nursing mother who cares. And today may be the day that you need this church. Maybe today is a day that is a really hard day and you don't know how you can even possibly embrace this. You don't know how love can look that way. You don't know how that can function in your life because you've known nothing different than what you've experienced. This church is here for you. This church cares for you. This church wants to pray with you. This church wants to walk alongside of you. This church wants to be a genuine image of God in your life. There are people here who care for you, who want to give of themselves to you. I'm going to make myself available right here down front. And if there's a need of any kind, if there's a way this church can help in any way, I want to invite you to come down forward. Maybe today is the day that you need to say yes to Him in the waters of baptism. Maybe today is the day that you need to say no to the ways of the world and be raised new into the waters of baptism and live into the life and the love of Jesus Christ. If there is a need, if there is something we can do for you, please come forward. Leave here and be challenged to be the genuine image of God. Let's stand together as we sing.